We had an item on PFT today about Eagles defensive tackle Jalen Carter. There were some comments that were made in May by defensive line coach Clint Hurt of the Eagles regarding Carter, regarding some of the things he needs to do to improve his game. And anytime something like that is out there that reflects any sort of criticism of a player, especially a player who is eligible for a second contract that he's yet to get, it becomes noteworthy. It becomes part of the overall narrative as it relates to the player and the contract. And there's enough that's happened with Jalen Carter and the Eagles, or more accurately, not happened, to make his situation one of the top stories as training camp approaches. Because it appears he was a hold-in for the mandatory minicamp. Coach Nick Sirianni wouldn't comment on why he wasn't participating in team drills. I think it is logical to assume that he's not going to participate in team drills until he gets his contract. The Eagles have a history of signing core, long-term, nucleus-type players early, because the longer you wait, the more expensive it gets. And in the interim, since the Eagles were in position to extend Carter, because it takes 3 years under your rookie contract, he's completed year 3, the market's changed. The market's moved up. And so the price to keep Jalen Carter is going to go up. Looming over the situation, a 5th-year option of $27 million plus because of the success he's had early in his career. That's a lot of money. That's going to help shape the expectations. And I think it's just safe to discern from the situation. They've tried to work something out, and they just can't bridge the gap. And the problem is, the longer the Eagles wait, the more expensive it's going to get. And I think from time to time about the report that emerged back in March that the Eagles had gotten calls from other teams about Jalen Carter. When you hear a story like that, and I know that reporters don't like it when we guess their sources, but when the report is a team has gotten calls about a player, well, you can either get that from all the teams that made the calls, or you get it from the team that received the calls. There's one source for that, the team. And the team would put that out there to maybe get more calls. Sometimes when it's reported that a team has gotten calls about a player, the truth is the team is making calls about the players and hoping to manipulate the media to get teams to make the call, because the party that initiates the conversation, under just basic fundamental rules of negotiation, whoever makes the first move is perceived as being more interested in doing something and therefore more pliable to a better bottom line position. I don't know how accurate any of that is, but why make the first move, or why let it be perceived you've made the first move if you can create the impression that others are clamoring for your player? And that's why they do it. It's one thing to have a player you'll want to unload and you're calling other teams to try to take him. It's another thing to create the impression you're just sitting back going about your business and all these other teams are lining up to try to get your player. So, look, could he be traded? Yes. Could he sign a new contract? Yes. But until they get something done, and again, the price is higher now than it was before, until they get something done, it's going to be a focal point. And I would not expect to see Jalen Carter on the practice field. Because again, 4th year of that first round contract, it's a bargain for the team. And the team, in a lot of circumstances, wants to kick the can through that 4th year because those savings are never taken away, no matter what happens. No matter what happens. We had Jalen Carter for the 4th year of his contract at $3 or $4 million, which is roughly 10% of the market right now. So keep an eye on Jalen Carter updates, news, rumblings, whatever. I expect him to be a hold-in if they don't get a contract done before camp opens. Another item that I accidentally skipped over. Sorry, Gary. Deshaun Watson, Browns quarterback. Report came out yesterday. He's back in the Cleveland facility, working out in advance of training camp. Now, the players are off now. The players don't have to show up, but they can if they want to. They can choose to show up. I had a conversation with someone recently about rookies. Why not give rookies full access to the facilities? Why not put them up in hotels near the facilities so they can just continue this transition from college to the NFL? Because they're just kind of thrown out into the wilderness for 6 weeks in this new world that they've entered into. And the concern is, well, that'll put pressure on the veterans to show up and work out. Well, okay. You're either confident in your position or you're not. This is about helping the rookies. My point is this: Watson choosing to be there. And I think this is important as it relates both to the Browns starting quarterback competition, and it also reminds me of some thoughts I had about the Vikings quarterback competition. It's kind of a test. The slow time, the downtime. There's all sorts of ways that you will know as a coaching staff whether or not the contenders to be the starting quarterback are all in. Are they doing everything that they need to do on their own, by their own idea, their own initiative? It shows how badly they want it. And I know it's their downtime. I get it. CBA requires that they have that time off. I understand. But you want to be the starting quarterback? You're in competition with somebody else. How do I win that competition?
Browns fans, let me ask you something right out of the gate. What if the move that changes Cleveland's season is not another quarterback debate, not another recycled offensive headline, but a defensive swing that nobody wants to talk about until it is too late? I am talking about Trevon Diggs in orange and brown. Hold up, because I already know what some people are thinking. Trevon Diggs, after the injuries, after the Cowboys moved on, after Green Bay didn't keep him? And that is exactly why this is interesting. That is exactly why the Browns should be paying attention. Because in the NFL, you do not always win by buying the player when the whole league is screaming his name. Sometimes you win by catching the talent when the price is down, when the noise is loud, when other teams are scared, and when the upside is still sitting right there on the table saying, "Somebody come get me." And man, if there is one team that should understand the power of a high-risk, high-reward defensive swing, it is Cleveland. The Dawg Pound knows defense. The Dawg Pound knows chaos. The Dawg Pound knows what it looks like when one turnover flips an entire Sunday. And Trevon Diggs, healthy Trevon Diggs, confident Trevon Diggs, locked in Trevon Diggs, that dude has always had one thing you cannot teach. He sees the football like it belongs to him. That is not normal cornerback energy. That is thief energy. That is take the ball and change the game energy. Now connect this to what we heard in that clip. The NFL is not just about what happens when the pads come on. It is about who is paying attention before everyone else wakes up. It is about timing. It is about leverage. It is about teams making calls, prices changing, front offices waiting too long, and suddenly the move that looked expensive yesterday becomes impossible tomorrow. That is why Cleveland cannot sit around and act like training camp will magically solve every problem. Nah. If the Browns are serious about turning this thing around, they need to think like a team that is hunting opportunity before the market gets loud. And then we get to the quarterback room, because this is where it gets spicy. Deshaun Watson is back around the facility. Shedeur Sanders is in the middle of this competition. Dillon Gabriel is still part of the room. The Browns are watching everything. Who is working? Who is leading? Who wants it? Who is taking control when nobody is forcing them to show up? That is pressure, real pressure. And when your offense is going through a quarterback battle, when your young QB is trying to prove he belongs, when your veteran QB is trying to reclaim belief, what is the best gift a defense can give them? Short fields, extra possessions, momentum, interceptions. A defense that does not just survive, but attacks. Imagine Shedeur Sanders getting a chance to grow with a defense that can steal him 2 extra possessions in a tight AFC North game. Come on, that is how you protect a young quarterback without saying you are protecting him. You give him field position. You give him breathing room. You let Myles Garrett wreck the pocket. You let Denzel Ward lock down his side, and then you add a ball hawk like Trevon Diggs into the mix? Man, offensive coordinators would have to start double-checking every single throw outside the numbers. And I know Diggs is not coming with a clean, perfect, shiny label right now. That's the whole point. If he were at peak price, everybody would want him. But Cleveland does not need to buy the headline version. Cleveland needs to buy the motivated version, the prove-it version, the you forgot who I am version. That version can be dangerous. That version can walk into Berea with something to prove. And Browns fans, you know what happens when a talented player gets disrespected, humbled, and then lands in a place that lets him play angry. That can become fuel. That can become fire. That can become a problem for the AFC North real fast, because this division is not soft. Cincinnati is not going away. Baltimore is always physical. Pittsburgh always wants a street fight. So what should Cleveland do? Sit back and hope everything breaks perfectly? No chance. You add competition. You add teeth. You add playmakers. You add guys who can turn one bad throw into 6 points the other way. And if Trevon Diggs is healthy enough, if the medicals check out, if the contract is reasonable, I'm telling you right now, this is the kind of move that could make Browns fans look back and say, that was the swing. That was the moment Cleveland stopped waiting and started attacking. And that is why this connects perfectly with the Shedeur and Watson conversation. Whoever wins QB1 cannot be asked to carry the entire franchise alone. The Browns need a roster that helps the quarterback win, not a roster that forces the quarterback to be Superman every single week. Trevon Diggs would not fix everything by himself, but he could make this defense more dangerous, more aggressive, more opportunistic, and more Cleveland. And listen, I'm not saying ignore the risk. I'm saying understand the opportunity. There's a difference. Smart teams do not run from every red flag. Smart teams study the red flag, check the price, check the fit, and if the upside is bigger than the risk, they move. So, Dawg Pound, I need to know where you stand on this one. Would you take the swing on Trevon Diggs if the Browns could get him on the right deal? Would you give Shedeur or Watson a defense with another ball hawk, another big play threat, another reason for opposing quarterbacks to hesitate? Drop your opinion in the comments, because this one could get heated. And if you believe Cleveland needs to stop playing safe and start building a defense that scares people again, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and stay locked in, because Browns football is about to get very, very interesting.